We're going to transition now into what we call the Pittsburgh story. And I'm going to set it up for the day and say that the word that we want to use here today is authentic. You know, we're going to have a conversation, and you've heard a lot about the good things that are happening in the city, but we want to have an authentic conversation about the challenges, which I'm sure many of your cities share as well. So I want to talk about the challenges and opportunities of livability and the roles that you play institutionally, corporate, philanthropic, and what that means to really support the idea of livability going forward. So Stefani, I'll start with you.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Stefani Pashman, and I lead an organization called the Allegheny Conference, which is a bit of a blend of Chamber of Commerce, as you heard our county executives say, but we also oversee economic development for the 10-county region. And we have a research arm that influences our problem solving and informs our work. And so we've been around for 75 years, and as you heard the mayor just say, when a bunch of people came together to try and clean the air after post-World War II, that post-World War II Planning Commission was convened by Richard King Mellon, and that became the Allegheny Conference 75 years ago. So we have a very long history of being able to bring together, for many years it was just business, private sector leaders, but now it includes foundations, universities, and nonprofit leaders who are all key decision makers and influencers in Pittsburgh and how we get things done. And so one of the really unique elements about Pittsburgh's process is that we have this conviction in our fabric to partnership and partnership cross sector, and we have a vehicle to do that where we can kind of be long range and long term and think in a way that even gets us to above what may be day-to-day activities, and also that thinks regionally across a broader footprint. So for the Allegheny Conference, I think our interest in this space is very much about making sure that when we think about all the work that's going on, that we are taking this view of who's going to be here 5 years, 10 years, 20 years out. What do they need? How do we bring them to the table? And how do we make sure that we infuse the right viewpoints, but at the same time use the pulpit that we have of powerful executive to be able to make change happen? And so I think that there is a very positive role that we can play and have been playing in being able to kind of use a bully pulpit to make change happen at the ground level, but more importantly at the policy level and at the level where our business leaders are bought in and are at the table.
Thank you. Katharine, just, from your position at Port Authority, really being responsible for moving us all around our region, what do you think are some of the challenges and opportunities of creating a more livable place?
Well, thank you. And good morning to my transit people and to my Rail Volution people. Come on, you guys, clap, transit. This is a tough crowd.
It's early.
So
there's no coffee on the tables.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So what is it that we do? If you are a transportation professional, what do? You get people around, right? But you make life happen. The mission for Port Authority, no boats, but we are the transportation provider here in the region. Our mission is connecting people to life. So broadly, when we talk about all the cool things happening, or the Pittsburgh Promise, which is a broad term, it's also concretely getting to these amazing schools if you graduate from high school here in Pittsburgh, all these awesome things going on, you can't take advantage of them if you can't get there, right? And if you have been out and about in our city, we're kind of bumpy compared to other cities. Now the hills have been there for a while. It's not like they just jumped out, but it does complicate getting from point A to point B. We have 446 bridges. We have more public staircases than anywhere else in the world, and there's a reason for that. Nicely, we are also in a city that predates the car, and that hasn't been my experience professionally or personally throughout my career. So we're in a city that folks built up walking from point A to point B. We have a board man out of one of our divisions. He was at West Mifflin, and now he's on our ATU board, and he refers to us as a horse and buggy town with 21st century coaches. So we have a good start, and then you can walk from point A to point B, but where we were 50 years ago does not drive where development is now. I think the airport corridor, a great example. If you work out there and you are being hired in from downtown, there's a bus that can get you there. But if you are past downtown, you still have to transfer. And if you are trying to get to work on the first day of classes at the universities or on a holiday where people are flying out to the airport, good luck getting a seat. I was headed out to the airport a few weeks ago, Friday, 4:30 p.m. outbound. The bus headed out, there was an Arctic, and it had a standing room. It had a standing load, so probably 80 people headed out at 4:30. It's really, really busy. It's hard to get there. Then you have to hoof it. And yesterday, some of our friends here were observing. It felt chilly-ish to them. Like, just hold on. So we have a great foundation, but how do you connect everybody to all the good stuff going on? The good side of this, though, is the folks who have been here know where they want to go, and they know what works and they know what doesn't. We just have to open our ears up to them. So we've been doing surveys with a lot of our passengers. We've been doing a lot of public meetings. You know, and broadly, no disrespect to who here is a man wearing a tie or a woman wearing a tie? Tie?
Yeah.
No tie on Gary Thomas?
I'll
Okay, good.
I'll
Our
take
job
it.
is not the guys in the tie, nothing personal. It's the Head Start mom going to Votech, right? She is consuming our services 60 times a week, and any business would focus on that core customer. So we have our challenges, but we have some really great opportunities to start from. And I have the best ladies, no disrespect, Rich, I have the best ladies to work with.
So, Diana, we kind of talk a little bit about your work in the philanthropic space, and especially from a place-based kind of perspective, which we'll go into a little deeper. But what are some of the opportunities and challenges around continue to make this area the most livable region for everyone?
So again, welcome everyone. It's great to be here. I run a small to mid-sized foundation in Pittsburgh that's actually the oldest in Pittsburgh, 90 years, and is also one of the oldest multi-regional foundations in the country. And so we have been entrepreneurs and innovative our entire history, because for our first 50 years, we were pretty much the only game in town. So for us, pushing the envelope, taking risk, always thinking a little bit differently has been sort of the culture of the foundation. And as we are watching Pittsburgh tip for the better, and as we are as a city transitioning from decline to growth, the question really becomes, how do we make sure that's for everyone? How do we ensure that everyone is ready, prepared, and capable of benefiting from this changing economy, and how do we make sure it's equal? And to Katharine's point, equal looks very different depending on where you stand. So what we have been thinking a lot about by focusing on a geographic area as a hub of innovation. So it's about this area, but it's really about taking these complicated issues and really asking the question, how do you make sure that the quality of life improves for everyone? And one of the things we know, for example, is if you grew up in a very low-income neighborhood, you rarely leave the 3-mile radius. So as this great world is changing around you, how do you feel as if that is a part of your opportunity? And then how do you get access to all of that? And so as we began listening and talking to the residents in our communities, we heard a very comprehensive story about how transportation is only one piece to a strategy that's going to enable all of our residents to really thrive and really benefit in what we're all talking about today, which is a livable community.